dug a silver ring, and now I just dug my first Spanish silver. 1789, 1 real.
Ready to get on the monkey dugway.
Mineralized soil here in part of Tennessee I live in, but it's not nowhere near as hot as the dirt up there in Culpeper or some of the areas up in Virginia. And of course, a pop-up shower had targets that we'd be looking for, silver coins, because they're good conductors and they're really great. They're really great for test gardens because they're a known number, they're consistent, they're round, they're what machines like. I'm more of a relic hunter. Not that I don't like old coins, because I do like old coins, but I really like relics, especially Civil War relics. It'll develop, but I'm hoping that over time that reactivity in the ground will simulate that thick iron environment. I didn't remove the iron out of the ground over here. I removed any positive targets, and I did that because I always hunt in thick iron, so I deliberately left iron bits in the area that I'm going to put the test garden in. I've also got a bunch of period square nails and some period iron that I'm going to be using in the holes for the challenging holes to make the difficult finds, because that's what I'm used to hunting when I go relic hunting, especially up there. The goal is for most things to be between 6 and 10 inches, optimally at the 8 to 10 inch range, or I'm sorry, the 6 to 8 inch range optimally, because you're going to hear stuff at 3 and 4 inches. I don't see any point in testing targets that shallow. 6 inches you're going to hear anyway. But it's good solid numbers to know what you're hunting and try different settings and different techniques. I use this auger right here. It's for planting bulbs. But if you take a look, it is about 11 inches. And all of us carry pin pointers, but yet people always go, oh, I dug this coin at 10 inches. Well, is it really 10 inches, dude? Because you've got a standard measuring tool right there. So there's your inches, that's 8 inches, 10's probably the full pin pointer. So I figured this is a good way to dig my holes, because I'll have, I can go 6 inches, I can go 8 inches, or I can go a full 10 inches. And that will give me realistic recovery depths. A lot of people talk about all these coins and relics that, oh, I dug it at 14 inches. I don't buy into that. I think a lot of people think they dig things deeper than they do. I'm not saying that these machines can't reach that deep, because they can. You could probably get, depending on your soil conditions, 10 to 12 inches and probably still recover stuff with a good machine. Now with a pulse, you can get things a lot deeper. And I typically hunt the GPX 4800 up there in Culpeper, but the Equinox is different. It's special, and it does much better in that mineralized soil than any other VLF type machine that I've ever used. So I'm hoping that building a test garden and being able to use my mineralized dirt here, and if it goes well, I may get some dirt from there and bring it back, reopen up these holes, extract the targets, fill it with their dirt, and then replant my targets. We'll see. But this is basically just for me, to tweak settings, to try different programs. For me, the Equinox, I like to run it in field 2. For relic hunting, I think it's got more depth. I think it's really hot on small things like little flat buttons and little pistol bullets, just tinier objects. It's also really good at punching through that iron. It's defaulted to a faster recovery speed. I'll run my iron bias at 2 or 3, never more than 4 in the 800, but 2 or 3, because I think it helps with the wraparound and iron falsing. I run mine in two-tone in field 2, and the reason I do is because I like the two-tone. I like to hear ferrous and non-ferrous. If it's non-ferrous, if it's a repeatable number, I don't care where it is on the scale, I'm going to dig it. And I like setting it up that way because I hunt with the horseshoe button enabled, so I can hear all the iron. And I like to set the iron volume, the tonal pitch, and the actual iron audio sound in my bins, bin 1, the -9 to 0 scale, to where it's really faint in the background, where I can barely hear it. And what that allows me to do is then anything in the positive bin would be the second tone will beep, and it will beep much louder. So I constantly hear it in the background, so I can listen through that iron. So if I hear a squeak, I'm not using any filtration that way by discriminating out anything. It's a completely open screen, and I can kind of stop and wiggle that coil and see if I can clean up that number. You'd be surprised how many targets hide by people using discrimination and not hunting with the iron audio on. I find hearing that iron is quite helpful for relic hunting. So that's kind of how I set my machine up, and that's how I'm going to set my machine up in my test garden. I will try some of the other modes and some different things. I'm also going to try some single frequency stuff just to see, because I also got power lines. I don't know if you can see them right there, but those power lines, those high voltage ones up top there on the bigger pole, they throw every machine off I've ever taken out here. It really, they're noisy. I have to really try to settle them down, especially like CTX hated it out here. It would pick that up if I didn't noise cancel it real good. The ground is pretty mineralized in this part of my yard more than others, and I guess it's because I'm up on this ridge, on this hill. The machine will ground balance at a higher, or a more mineralized number than it does in other parts. Again, not quite as hot as up there in Culpeper, but pretty close, about half of what you would expect ground balance to be. So I don't like ground balance 0. I think machines do better if you ground balance them to where you're hunting. So the idea is to put these targets in, try different things, and see what works in this ground. Because if I can hear it in this ground, I can find it in this ground, and it will ignore this mineralization at the stock settings, I can then bump it up and get a little deeper punch up there. I've used it up in Culpeper already. I had great success this last time I was up that way. The place we were at was a cavalry camp, and it would be mild in some parts, moderately to severely mineralized in others, and extreme in some parts. So it was a pretty hot soil. I used my GPX quite a bit, but I did use the Nox quite a bit, and I recovered 32 bullets, I think, with the Equinox. All of them ID'd between 15 and 19, and all of them were at a true 6 to 8 inches using my pinpointer in that mineralized dirt. The most extreme areas, that was more 4 to 6, was about the most I could hear stuff. But for a VLF in that mineralization, to still hit an ID button, or an ID buttons and bullets with any accuracy, even at 4 to 6 inches, is much better than most VLFs do up there. So we're gonna build this test garden and see what happens. Number one is about a 7-inch silver quarter. I dug down to about 6 inches, 7 inches with a ruler, placed it in there, put dirt on top of it. It's laying not completely flat, not completely on the side, it's kind of at an angle. It'll work its way flat or straight up and down over time. This is a 3-ringer, and it's at 7 inches. This is a silver dime at 6 inches. I made them as just a little bit deeper because they're a little bit bigger. This is a 7-inch deep Civil War button back. And all 4 of these hit pretty good with the sensitivity even down as low as 18, because I got a lot of EMI in here. I can pick them up pretty good in multi-frequency. I can pick them up in 15, 10, 15, and 20. 5 and 40, barely. 20's iffy, but in 10 and 15, I can hit them. It hits hardest, honestly, in multi. That just shows the power of multi. 5, as deep as 5 is, 5, it's really jumpy. 10, it hits it better than 15. 15 is all over the map. So, but it's consistent. I mean, it's consistently bouncing. And then I got the targets, so they're going to go in this next hole. Okay, so I've got a storm moving in on me, so I may not get this done today, but I wanted to show. Okay, that's what I'm putting these targets at. You can see 7 inches, actually 8 inches is the top of the grass. So this one's going to be right around 8 inches from grass, 7 inches from the soil. So we're going to say it's really going to be 8, but we're just going to call it 7. And I'm going to put some nails in with it. I'm going to put a nail in below it, and I'm going to get that in there. I'm going to put a little bit of dirt on it, remeasure my hole, make sure I'm not going too shallow, because I want this button back at least 6 inches. It's going to be right at where I want it to be. So I'm going to place the button back now. with a nail, in with it. So you can see they got the nail, and put the nail right in with it. Not directly on top of it. Over time it's going to work its way in there. And I'm going to put the dirt back, and then we're going to see what it sounds like. I know some people go, oh, I'll put it right on top of it. Well, this doesn't have the advantage of having a halo built. If it had a halo built up around it, that might be different. But there is a big difference, because if you build a test garden yourself, the first thing you're going to find is you put targets in at depths and you think, oh man, I should be able to hear that, no problem. Well, you're not going to, because it doesn't have that halo effect. So there's going to be, I'm going to hold this where you can see the coil. You don't need to see my sweaty face, but the only target I think I'm going to put in is a dime with some nails with it. So we're going to go back over what we got and what the depths are. So 7" quarter. You can hear it hits it good. And so I can show everybody. I got my recovery speed at 5. I've dropped it to 5 just to get a little more depth, because it's a test garden. Normally I run 6 or 7. But this don't have the benefit of the halo, so a little bit of that is good. I'm running 18 on sensitivity. I am ground balanced. I'm running an iron bias of 2. I'll go through all my settings real fast. I am ground balanced at 45, and I am in, well, not in tracking now. I was in tracking. I'm back in tracking. And I am in 2-tone. So that's what I'm running. Quarter, hear it? Hitting good. Perfect until it builds that halo. Civil War bullet. Hitting it every time, 15, 16. Okay, button back. Hitting about a 9, 10, 9, 9, 9, 9, which is about right. That's where flat buttons hit a lot that size. This is the one you watched me bury on camera. It's the button back and the nail. And I'm hunting an open screen, no discrimination. It's hitting. It's showing a 12, 12, 12, minus 3. That's because it's also hitting that iron. You can hear that iron. Hear that? Harder to hit that way. Okay, so what this is good for, this is more realistic to relic hunting. You have a lot of iron at a lot of these sites, and this is what you're going to hear. Okay, you're just going to hear a peep. You're going to look at your screen. If you went just by your screen, well, it's showing -6 and it's showing 16. That's really not a very accurate thing to dig. If I go over it, I'm consistently hitting around 14, 12, 14, and a negative number pops in. That's because it's also picking up the nail. Turn 90 on it. Same thing, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. Hitting 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9, but I'm still showing a negative number too, but that's because of those nails in there. So the point with that is more realistic to what you're digging when you dig as a relic hunter. A lot of people get wrapped up in, oh well, you know, I need to dig only solid repeatable numbers. Yes, you need repeatable numbers, but if you're in thick iron, that's why I built this one this way, a few of these targets this way. If you're in thick iron, you have to train yourself just to listen for peeps and then investigate those peeps. If you can get a repeatable number range, say 12, 14, 12, 19, in a repeatable range in 2 directions, and you go around the hole in a wagon wheel, 2 different directions, it's definitely worth opening up the hole, because there's a good chance something good is hiding in there. And the reality is, as the targets are in there longer, you actually get better than this. If you can learn to train yourself to pay attention to that in your test garden, you will know what to dig when you're in a field. Because in the fields, the targets are actually cleaner because they have that halo. They've been in the ground, they build that halo up, and it really can punch through that iron better. Right now, all it sees is the dirt, the mineralization. It's ignoring it, but it's picking up 2 nails, and it's picking up a button, and it's trying to cipher that and try to tell you, well, I've got 3 targets down there. It's not ignoring the nails because the nails aren't in the same composition into the ground. They haven't mineralized to the ground yet, and that's what happens over time. So I think this is going to be a pretty effective way for me to tweak my knock skills, and I think I'm going to really enjoy working out here with different programs and different things. They'll never build up the same halo that they have in the ground, but my hope is after a few years in the ground, I'll at least be able to do just like I did here. And that there, if that improves any, that's going to be huge for me. So I'm going to do one more target, I think, right here. And I'm just going to put a diamond with a few nails, just because it's a different makeup than the button. And that'll probably be it. The only other target I may throw in there, I may throw a nickel, a memorial penny, or a nickel memorial penny, and maybe the camplet at some point in time. But for right now, I think I'm going to throw one more target in, and I think that's going to be it. The other thing a test garden does is adds mineralization of your ground back in with the target. So it's giving you one more part of the puzzle. But to really recreate what's in the field is not possible even in a test garden.